and welcome back to another episode of the Blue Honor Vlog. I'm Kay Williams, author of op-dec Operation Deceit, Blue Honor, for which this vlog and my blog are named for, and the Triloquia Trilogy Paranormal Dark Fantasy Horror Series. All right, let's get into it. So it is August. Where has this year been going? Oh my God. Oh, by the way, I got this amazing t-shirt from my brother for my birthday on Amazon. So, huge Eddie fan. I know, I don't really look the part sometimes, but I've been obsessed with this guy since he brought that first album home, and I can see it. It's gold with like the pyramids and stuff. Used to love watching those videos, and the thing would open up and Eddie would be on the stage. Absolutely love Eddie. Big win for me as a kid. All right, so this month I wanted to talk about an article I wrote in July of 2016 about unrealistic expectations around publishing and writing. And I can tell you already, I haven't looked at it prior to coming on here and taping this, but I can tell you that I talk a lot about this, and there are some really interesting expectations that we have as authors. See, what we're really great at is imagining, creating on paper. And while that isn't easy, manifesting a lot of those things that we need that go along with that into real life are not as easy as putting pen to paper, fingers to keyboard, however you want to look at it. The other thing is that we as creatives and dreamers may not always be the best judge of how good or bad we are at our craft, where we may be at within that learning curve. Perfection is unattainable. Let's face it, perfection is unattainable. But I write on the Open Book blog Hop with several other authors, and we publish that weekly on Monday. So if you want to be part of that and get that in your inbox, you can go to the Blue Honor blog and subscribe to it. It'll get delivered to your email every Friday about 1 o'clock. I do not share email lists with anyone. No one is allowed to have my email list. Simply just sends out from my newsletter handler, and it is encased within my newsletter. They don't even have access to that, so they can't get to you. I don't share it. I don't share your information. I don't share that you're even subscribed. But it's really important to be within that network and see a lot of the things that other authors are talking about as a way to grow and learn, see where you're at, see what you need to do, next steps, etc., best practices, and reality check yourself. It goes without saying, I'm sure, for a lot of authors, that there are always those among us whose egos are a little expanded for no good reason. And then there are those who just really don't understand. We've always done it this way. I don't understand why that's bad writing. Nobody's complained before. I don't understand. And they suddenly, like an editor or feedback from a publishing house because they're trying to go that route, an agent, whatever, writing group, other authors, maybe they've self-published something and they're getting feedback and the reviews on that. But they're like hearing these things and they're confused. But also there's the type who just completely discount that. They're like, oh, I have my fans and I'm perfectly good at doing this and I'm great. And it's like, and I've picked up the book and I've read it and I'm like, this is a fantastic idea. Your execution, not so much. Like, I have read books where the whole premise, the whole book, the whole story, everything is great, but the writing itself is lacking. And that's easily fixed. Easily fixed by working with a line editor, with a editor in general. And I think I have a B in here. But it's really important to get that. It's really important to get that. And the other major thing is that author expectations usually spin around how publishing is going to go. I'm going to send my work out to this agent or this publisher, and they're going to think it's the greatest thing ever. I have a bang-up idea. Yeah, you might, but it doesn't mean that it fits what they think is marketable at the time. Remember, publishing is a business, and something that's marketable from you through the manuscript, it matters. It may not be the right time for it. If your execution of it wasn't that great, that's a problem. You have to make sure that it's edited before you send it out to them. Yes, completely edited. So whether or not you're deciding to do this independently or via going through an agent and publisher, you need to make sure that your manuscript is edited, you have a clean copy, and everything is good. If you don't do that, everyone who picks it up and starts reading it is going to know. Everyone. My first publishing with Blue Honor, I needed to get that out from under me. And I found the best editor that I could afford at the time, which wasn't much. And it showed. But that book and the sales from that book allowed me to publish my second book, op-dec. And I got a far better editor, an amazing editor. And we got that done and put out there. And I was able to afford, marketing and get it to reviewers, professional reviewers, all sorts of stuff. It was so much better. I mean, getting that book out from under me was really important. But I didn't forget to go back. So when I moved on and I started doing the Triloquia series, there was a lot I had learned as far as writing. And please understand, your writing is never so good that you can't learn to get better. It's like with everything. This is our craft, and working on that craft is a constant thing. You don't go from apprentice and journeyman to expert, master, without all of these other things. One of the other things that I did do was go back to school. And that always helped my writing because it's peer reviewed, basically. Professors review it, peers review it, and the expectation is high for academic writing. Whether it's nonfiction or not, it still helps you write better. And that's the point. One of the things that I always recoil at is the advice that you need to write every day for at least 20 minutes. You can write every day for 20 minutes, but if you're not having somebody look at it and critique it, it isn't helping. Just like you can read every book on the shelf, but if you're not looking at it critically, you're not unpacking it, you're not looking at it, why is this a great work? Why was this picked? Why was this published? How is the writing different from mine? How can I use some of these things? If you're not studying it, and do you know how to study it to learn these things, you're not going to get the benefit of it. Just reading, and I don't believe this, I know lots of people have said, just reading alone will make it better. To a point, but it's not going to make you perfect. The other thing is that whatever you're writing at whatever time is going to be, as long as you write it really well, because I run into this. I run into this myself, and I see other authors who are very good at what they do, very good writers, very strong writers. They also run into this. You'll see this happening to a lot of the not quite celebrity, but people who are doing well, and this is especially in the top big publishers. They just don't want it. That goes back to what I said. Is it marketable? Is it going to work at this time? Is it hot? If you're not a mind reader, it can get pretty difficult trying to discern if something's going to hit well with the public. Some people are very good about reading the writing on the wall, and they can tell almost right away. Oh, like remember when Twilight was a thing? That's why you see all of these other things following suit. All this vampire stuff just kept coming, and you're just like, if I have to look at another vampire film or book, werewolves, underworld, all these tastemakers. But those things were in the can and being developed way ahead of when they were released. So it's like, how did they know? Well, sometimes things just hit. Movies especially can create taste making. So if you can kind of get a bead on what films are being made, like currently, say like today you went on and you looked at what's being developed, what's being shopped, etc. You will get an idea of what is going to be prime real estate for publishing in about a year and a half. A year to year and a half. So the difficult part about that is, do you have something on deck that fits it? Because a year and a half is not a lot of time to develop a story and get it written, edited, and all of that stuff that needs to go with it. It isn't. These people who publish a book a month, I honestly don't know how you do it. Anyway, I'll reserve my comments about that because I don't want to be offensive. Some people very rarely are very prolific, and they can produce a lot of good work, a lot of good stories. It's like, it's just in them, and it's just flooding them, and they got to get it out. But that said, for the most part, that isn't for real. That isn't working. That's not how any of this works. Stories take time to develop and write and flesh out and think about and research. 30 days to research, develop, write, edit, proof, design, and publish. You see what I'm saying? Sure, we all get really excited, we want to put that picture up on the fridge and have mom like, oh, it's great. Slow your roll. If you have something worth publishing, it's worth taking the time to do all of the steps and make it really good. Okay? For the most part, and the sales outlets have backed this up. And what I'm saying, there's a lot of trash out there that's flooding, and it wasn't AI generated. It was basically, maybe it was Mad Libs. Do you remember Mad Libs? So they have a framework. They switch out the names and maybe some of the places, some of the wording and stuff, and they flip that up, and then they put out the next one. Go back in, change the names, change the setting, little alteration, put out that book. It is the same book 50 times over by the end of the year, trying to hit each one of those markets. Sell it $1 a piece to 1,000 people, and you get $1,000 a year on each of those books. Now you see why they're doing it. And that's why being an independent author is difficult, is because the charlatans, the snake oil booksellers, are out there making it terrible for us. And we just wrote an article about how do you turn off the editor when you read for fun. And it's like, I can't, especially because, those big publishers are always hammering down on us independent authors and saying terrible things. Or when you approach them to publish your book, they tear you to shreds. And they're rude, they're obnoxious, they're gatekeepers. And there's all this chatter about how independent books aren't well written or edited or proofread, and we have far fewer mistakes for the most part in ours because we've been run through the ringer on this, and we're doing what needs to be done. I hire an editor, I hire proofreaders, I do the whole thing that a big 5 publisher does. But I actually do it. I don't just collect a paycheck. Because when I pick up a big 5 published book, the number of typos in unedited lines is infuriating, and I can't just shut that off. I can't. No. So there's those expectations that I've seen authors have, that somehow, you're going to get your manuscript and you've had it edited, you send it to them, and now these high-paid, powerful editors who obviously got there because they're extremely skilled, not nepotism, or, nepotism in some way, whether it was a legacy placement at Harvard or a legacy placement at the job, and they're collecting these huge paychecks. You've already had it edited. They're not doing much more than that. They probably send it down to the junior editors, and the junior editors are like, their pile's like this high. They're barely proofreading it, and it goes to print like that. I've seen a copy of Twilight gone through by an editor who had time. God bless them. They had the time. And the umpteen mistakes within that manuscript. And it's true for all. I mean, I have been reading some of the classics and found typos. I'm like, this thing was published in 18-something. You'd think you could have found this typo by then. It's now like the year 2000 and something. In 100 and something years, you didn't find this typo? I was like, oh, well, one of the staff typed it up and put it in. How embarrassing for them. Because I'm expected to have a completely clean copy, free of typos and editing mistakes. But a big 5 publisher, y'all can get away with that? So don't expect them to make sure that your copy is any cleaner than anything else that you've seen. There are going to be mistakes. So unless you've made sure that it is clean, they're probably not going to do it. Another expectation I see is they think that they're going to get marketing. You have to build your platform. You have to sign up for all of your book signings yourself. You have to do all of the arrangements. Unless you're some huge personality, and that thing always makes me crazy, is these celebrities or influencers who now put author next to their name. Bullshit. And I don't say that with any kindness. You've never put in the type of work that an actual author has on the craft of writing. So, anyway. And becoming a ghostwriter, I've written an article about that too. You can look that one up as well. It's not good for you. It isn't good for you because you can't talk about any of the things that you've ghostwritten, so you can't put it on your resume. You're just being used to make somebody a lot of money, and you're going to get paid off for very little. It isn't worth it. It's not going to make a name for you. It's not. I do not recommend. Don't do it. Unless your name is getting on there, don't do it. But yeah, so there are a lot of unrealistic expectations. Like, even with the platform that I have built around my writing, I still have a lot of building to do. And at this point, I don't see any reason to go with a big publisher other than to use them like staff. Because maybe it's a little bit too much for me to handle at that point if I have so much going on and so many obligations to meet, that handing my books over to them to handle the administrative portion of that would be the only real reason to go with that, because by that time I've done all of the work. But I mean, what a mind F. They're making all this dough of your hard work and you're getting very little, like less than 10% you will earn on each sale, each book. And you're not likely to get an advance either. Maybe a few $1,000s to help you set up some of those book signings. And you'll have to foot the bill for travel. And yeah, sure, you can try to write that off on your taxes, but I mean, how much are you getting back? You know, you're gonna have to do a lot online. A lot of people are like, you know, introverted and they don't want to do any of this stuff. And I'm like, well, that's the new face of authorship. We have to be out there and we have to be online and we have to be approachable and communicate, and it is a whole new world. I didn't expect all of this stuff to develop when I was deciding to become an author. None of this was in place. I mean, you're talking about the 90s. None of this was in place yet. So a lot of the unrealistic expectations actually come from my own experience in learning and going through people that I've met, my own personal ideas about how things were going to be. The reality is so odd. It's almost like a letdown. I don't want to say that, you know. It's not like the movies. I don't know how to express that. It's not like the movies in the way that things come about and happen. It's surreal to the point it's mundane. It's mundane. And it's so interesting, you know, that it's that mundane. It's like, I thought this was supposed to be cool. It's just a job. It's not at all like what the movies portray us as, which is weird, but probably where all those unrealistic expectations come from, right? But anyway, thank you for watching. If you have any questions about this topic or other questions on other topics, leave me a comment below. Don't forget to go and subscribe. You can subscribe here. You can subscribe on my website to my weekly newsletter, which just delivers links to the article of the week for you. Especially good for writers out there, young writers, new writers, people who are interested in writing, people who have writers in their life and want to know more about writers, so that they can support their writer, because supporting your writer can be hard. All right, see you back here next time. Hit that subscribe, please. Thank you.